Okay, so today we will be visiting the ROM, the Royal Ontario Museum. And it's that cool looking building over there. Cool, some people don't like the design. I think it's pretty neat. It's unique, at least. It sort of is, you'll see that the design is these angular, metallic kind of like, almost looks like, you know, crystal rock formation that kind of just explodes out of the original old-fashioned building. So you can already kind of see it. See how it's kind of like separated, or like it just feels like it kind of like blew up from, you know, under the air, came up. Well, it certainly is a unique looking building. Right now, the main entrance over here is closed due to construction. And this is actually the first time I've seen this go under construction. I've been here, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been to the ROM. And yeah, I wonder what's changed, you know? But it's gonna be cool to revisit some of the exhibits. It's classics, like the dinosaur exhibit. You know, you always gotta see that. That's fun. Okay, I am inside the ROM, and yeah, I haven't been back here in a long time, and it's cool to see that a lot of things are still the same. Like, you know, that dinosaur right there, and this huge dinosaur over here at the entrance. So the main entrance is actually right over here. So this used to be the main entrance, but they're, you know, renovating it. It's gonna be brand new, but oh my god, I remember taking pictures with this thing as a kid. And okay, so that main entrance is gonna be, wow, it's gonna be nice. Look at that, it's cool. Yeah, I got a map with me. There's like 4 levels plus 2 basement levels, and we're gonna make our way through and see how long it takes. It's a big museum, actually. It's a really big museum, and lots of stuff over here. So I think the strategy is to go top floor first and then work our way down. I think that's the best because I want to avoid the crowds and everything. So I think, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Let's go ahead. Over here. Guys, the second's gonna have Okay, so this place was pretty cool. This was the Africa's, Americas, and Asia Pacific's exhibit. And yeah, it's lots of very like interesting cultural artifacts over here. There's a focus on sort of the indigenous population of each of those places, and it's just interesting to remember that like each, no matter where you go, there was an indigenous population there, right? So even like European countries and everything, there's indigenous populations. And yeah, a lot of this, like, I'm very glad a lot of this is all preserved, very, very artistic. Like it's cool seeing each culture's different artistic style. Yeah, so I found it interesting. They've changed all their washrooms to all gendered washrooms. And small thing, but I really like their new Dyson integrated hand dryer and sink sort of faucet. I think those are really cool and nice. So this is the exhibit of evolutions in European style. And you know, it takes you through the European style, medieval period, the Renaissance, the Baroque period, Rococo after that, neoclassical, and then sort of the Victorian era. And yeah, it's just really cool to see the evolution of, you know, all the style. It's really cool seeing all these like artifacts preserved and everything. Everything is super well preserved, and it's very impressive, you know. But it's interesting because obviously this is because the rich people could preserve it, right? So like a lot of this you see is what sort of the 1% had, you know. This is a lot of it is just in the style and the materials used, and just the sheer like creativity and care and like work and thought and detail in all these things. It's just so cool to see. But obviously you need to be able to afford people with those kind of skills, and I feel like we've lost that because, you know, we've moved into, one is because of industrialism, where everything started moving so fast and there wasn't as much time to kind of work on these pieces and add all this detail. But also because you know, things increased in cost, and these materials and these details became more scarce. The skills became more scarce. So that also led to us just kind of simplifying things. Minimalism, modernism, which we see on the latter end of this exhibit, shows a lot of that. And yeah, it's kind of sad seeing that we've lost the art, because a lot of it was so beautiful. And I was just looking at it, I was like, how did they even make this? And who even took the time to actually like make all this? It was just, I can't imagine how much of this beauty has been lost. Imagine like someone worked on these things, and a lot of these things were like art, but they were used as like everyday furniture back then, and just everyday utensils, or everyday like, I don't know, like lamps and stuff, chairs, stuff like that, right? It was all like just normal for them. But like to us seeing this, it's crazy, because like we don't have any of this anymore. And yeah, just to know how much was lost is kind of sad. But yeah, it's just kind of cool, just going throughout the ages and peering into those periods and seeing how they created, like what their styles were and what influenced that. They also borrowed from, there's like connections to the last exhibit we saw, borrowing from Asian styles and everything. So there's a lot of that as well. But just overall, it doesn't matter which culture, all of them are, there's always like an eye for artistry and creativity, which is just amazing to see. Okay, so it seems like the rest of these exhibits are all just modern design. A lot of glassware, a lot more metal work, a lot of stuff with, you know, bronze, brass, and everything. And also there was an armor exhibit as well, which is pretty cool. Armor, and it was sort of like detailing war, so like all the way from the medieval period all the way to World War II, World War I. But, you know, I still like the European style evolution exhibit way better. I spent a lot of time looking through there because there's just so much detail to like take in, you know, as you're looking at that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's still pretty cool. This is a nice like contrast. And I think the reason I'm not spending as much time with the modern exhibit is because I'm kind of living in that age, right? So a lot of that stuff is normalized to me. So it's not as like interesting. And also I'm sure if you understood like furniture and like art and everything, you'd have a better time where you kind of understand like why they evolved, all the historical context around it. I mean, there's a lot of reading material as you're looking through these displays, which you can read, but it's hard to, like in a museum, hard to kind of read every single thing, right? Like you'll be here for hours and hours and hours. Like you even need more than a day to read everything here. So museums are more like for research. So you come in with like a specific research goal. You come in, you look at a few things that are tailored to your research, or you know, you can just come through, browse, like most people, and then if something catches your eye, read it, right? Yeah, but it's pretty cool. So I've noticed that a lot of the more lower class of society, their sort of belongings were less furnished compared to the rich. And, you know, I feel like that we've kind of moved towards modernism, minimalism, because of the industrial age, because things were moving so fast, but also because there's just so much in today's world. So like, for example, take the Victorian era, right? A lot of the stuff in the Victorian era was very like over designed, or just like, it was borrowing from stuff, but it can feel a little eclectic at times, right? And pretty like full. So like if you return home and like your whole place is like crazily furnished, it's a lot. Like, you know, especially these days now that we're so overstimulated with so much stuff, it's a lot. So like that's why maybe modernism, minimalism came in. But also I feel like people sort of lost their creativity, lost their eye for arts, lost their care for arts, because we're just so busy. Like people don't create the skills anymore to be able to create that kind of stuff, or even like learn how to like create stuff like works like these. There's so many distractions nowadays. Like back then, before technology and everything, what was there to do? There's like nothing, you know. You just go to work, you know, you got to go outside. That inspired a lot of people going outside. Actually, now everyone's just on their phones, so you lose a lot of that creativity, and you just don't see a lot of the work that we've seen over here in some of these other later periods and everything. Like earlier I just saw some like kids like in this museum. Instead of looking around the museum, they're all just sitting around on their phones, which is crazy because like when I was here as a kid, we didn't really have phones, right? So like just came over here, looked at stuff. Obviously as a kid you're bored. That's totally makes sense because you don't really understand most of this stuff. Definitely appreciate it more as an adult. But yeah, it's just times change, right? Times change, and so it's interesting to think about that context as you're looking through this museum. So we just came from the Japanese Shokan exhibit. This one is actually, this space is just a rotating exhibit. So they have different exhibits when you're here. Whatever you catch is gonna be it. The Japanese art was really cool. Yeah, it's very recognizable. It's a very recognizable style. Like Japanese art, you know, you know when you see it, and it's cool seeing like the samurai stuff and everything. And it's just very, again, like the Japanese, they also are a culture that really cares about the stuff they make, and you can see just in their everyday items a lot of arts. Like one was like the teapots and stuff. That's a big thing over there. So they put a lot of care and effort into that. Now we're headed into like the ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, the Byzantine era, and those exhibits are year-round. Those always stay here. They're permanent. So this is gonna be cool. So we finished the Byzantine exhibit, and I found it just interesting how the Romans just came in, conquered everything basically, and yeah, I mean, these places were living peacefully, or maybe not peacefully, but there will always be those who choose to conquer and get more land. Something else is like, it's close to lunch, getting a little hungry. I realized I should probably bring snacks on like these excursions. You know, that would really get me through the day. I feel like having snacks, I gotta remember that next time, like granola bars or anything, just like to eat here and there to like refill my energy as I go about it. Because yeah, if I wanted to have that kind of non-stop exploring stuff, yeah, I need to keep my energy levels up. Also, museums are tiring. Don't bring a bag like me. This is weighing down on my shoulders. And also bring comfy shoes so when you walk around and everything, you are not tired after a long period of time. Yeah, so the Greek exhibit over here is actually pretty cool. A lot of marble, stone, clay, bronze, and everything in here. But I think the coolest things are their pottery, things they made out of clay, and their sculptures and everything, which is really awesome. And their art was also really cool and very detailed, especially on the pottery. So the ancient Cyprus exhibit is a lot more stone, a lot of clay and everything. The surfaces of a lot of the materials more rough compared to the Greeks. So the ancient Egypt exhibit is really cool because some of these pieces, it's like, are some of the oldest pieces, and I'm just wowed that they survived this long. Now, obviously, given a lot of them are missing pieces and are fragments, the fact that, you know, these were able to be found is just, you know, that's pretty astonishing. A lot of ancient Egypt is about preservation with, you know, famous mummies and everything. But I guess some of it is better preserved in some ways, especially like things that are not stone. They're better preserved maybe because of the sands of Egypt, the dry, airy climate, so things are able to, you know, not rot as much. Yeah, it's just a whole different world. Also in ancient Egypt, the mummified remains are just, it's crazy how long they've lasted. Like sort of their process for mummification back then, it was like figuring all that out. That's very smart for the Egyptians. With ancient Egypt, you actually get a little bit more of sort of the normal people's lives compared to a lot of the other places, that's quite interesting. This is actually new. The Dawn of Life exhibit. Back then it didn't used to be like this. It used to be, this all was part of the dinosaur exhibit. So it seems like they've maybe relocated a few things to make it more of like a storyline. And that's the coolest thing with the museums and everything. When I'm going through these exhibits, I always try to go through sort of like what they want me to see. And it gives you the best story, you know. For Dawn of Life, it's kind of sequential, and it actually takes you through the evolution of, you know, like from bacteria to plants to animals and everything. So the Dawn of Life exhibit was really cool, just seeing the evolution all the way from like tiny bacteria to these, you know, pretty much going to the dinosaurs and the age of extinction and everything, and just seeing the fossils and how things have been sort of imprinted. It's crazy seeing these fossils, like it's just like a snapshot in time. It's almost like there's like a whole process, years to form these fossils, but then like it just feels like some animal was like smushed and like printed, you know. I saw a lot of trilobites, and it seemed like those were very abundant back then, sort of the rulers of like the seas. I feel like sea rats kind of in a way. But this, yeah, exhibit was really cool. I've never seen this before here, so this is definitely new. Now we're going to be headed into the dinosaur exhibit, which is the moment everyone is waiting for. Everyone comes for the dinosaurs, so let's see that. So the dinosaur exhibit has, for the most part, stayed the same in terms of the parts of the exhibit, but where everything is located, they've kind of like shifted everything around. They've split some of it with the Dawn of Life exhibit, and yeah, they've rejigged a little bit, so reorganized. And yeah, this is one of the most popular areas. Like, there's lots of people over here taking pictures and everything. People are just fascinated with dinosaurs, and you know, I don't blame them, because these things were absolutely massive, and it's just crazy to think that back then there was these huge animals just roaming around the earth, and all of a sudden went extinct and no longer are here. From what I hear, they were so big just because it's so oxygen rich back then. So you had like plants were bigger, insects were bigger, and the animals were bigger. So everything was bigger back then, until that meteor took everyone out, which sucks, too bad. But very cool exhibit. I mean, who doesn't like dinosaurs, right? Yeah, actually so glad that these things are no longer here anymore, because like we would have stood no chance against some of these things. Like the armor on these dinosaurs, the teeth, the speed, the size. Yeah, good luck. Like we definitely wouldn't have evolved if the dinosaurs were still around. And a lot of our fascination with dinosaurs comes from Jurassic Park. I think that's what really started it. So a lot of people know dinosaurs from that, and that's sort of our conception of all of them. These exhibits are just beautiful. Like, look at how they kind of displayed things. This one's really cool. It's sort of like mid-fight stance. That's awesome. And like these other ones, like if you go around, it also takes a keen eye as a museum curator to like curate the exhibit in a certain way. I don't think that gets enough recognition. It's not just put the thing up for display. It's telling a story, making it interesting, and yeah, just organizing all this. This takes a lot. It takes a team. So I think that's impressive. That's something I never thought about really back then. So the dinosaur and mammals exhibit was really cool. Now we're into the modern day animal exhibit. So we had the birds, and then there's going to be other mammals. And this place is pretty much still the same. Like it's kind of as I remembered. The kids section is pretty much still the same. They did get rid of. There was supposed to be like a fossil sort of finder here. Like you take, you wipe the sand off the fossils. I don't think they have that here anymore. But I remember playing with my siblings over here, and just having fun as kids. It's crazy. Now I'm coming back as an adult. It's different. There's a bat cave right over there, which is a classic. Gotta go in. Oh no, they've changed the bat cave. The bat cave is now way more tame and watered down. It's more like a walkable round exhibit rather than back then, which was like, I swear, like back then you go in and like there's like a crawling section and then there's like places to hide and stuff where you can like jump scare your friends or your siblings. Like now it's just, you just walk around. It's not as like cool anymore. Or maybe that's Science Center. Maybe I'm thinking about Science Center. I don't know if Science Center has a bat cave. And also I remember you could see a camera into the bat cave. You could see like people going through the bat cave and there's like night vision. Maybe that's not, I don't know. But yeah, it feels like it's changed. It doesn't feel the same anymore. So the biodiversity exhibit is pretty much about the same. Nothing's really been added, but things have been taken away and things have been reorganized a little bit. This section feels a little barren. One thing I've noticed is the bees are not here. Probably a seasonal thing, so summer, if you come in summer, they'll be here, but maybe it's a little cold. So the bees, I didn't see them. And we've lost the beaver and the raccoon that were in this area that you can like pet and like feel. They're gone. And I feel like there's still live fish and insects and everything, but I feel there's less now. So over in that section there's definitely less of those. It's cool to see that things change, but it's also kind of sad. It's like I feel like it was better when I was a kid, like having all those extra things, but I guess as time goes on, I mean, it's hard to maintain, or like maybe people, for some things they might get hurt, or people mess things up. You never know, and they end up removing stuff like that. So it kind of just shows that, like, although these places will be here, for however long, as long as they're in business or whatever, things change and you lose out on a lot of things. So it just means to get out and see things, you know? Go out, see things, because they might not be there forever. So get out and travel, see the world. Again, the biodiversity at risk exhibit is, you know, the animal exhibit is still mainly the same, but they removed some things. I do remember a part of this where there was sort of like an exhibit on ants. There were leafcutter ants and there were termites, I think, and you could see them like moving around. I feel like they removed that little section right there, so that's interesting. I guess it was too much to maintain. So there are things that change here and there. You only notice it if you come back and see. Also, it was sad to see that some of the animals are actually extinct and some of them are endangered. So it just means, I don't know, what we're doing as humans, we're affecting the animals, and it's kind of sad to, like, it's crazy to think that some animals we'll never see again. And I guess that just is a sign to just protect the animals that we still do have and try to keep our planet healthy. Yeah, so this gemstone mineral collection is actually really crazy. I mean, there's just so many like gems, minerals, crystals that like I've never seen before at all. Like some of these are from way deep in the earth, and you know they're very rare to form some of these. So you probably never see a lot of these ones. But yeah, it's really cool. A lot of these like look almost alien, like they're not really from here. So like, you know, if you're into sci-fi and you want some inspiration, come over here and like take a look at some of this stuff. Like imagine like planets made of this kind of stuff, or like a planet that has an abundance of this kind of stuff. Because there's, you know, they only form under certain conditions, right? And it's really cool. Like this stuff, and then also the early life. A lot of those creatures like seem very alien. So like I can see where, you know, people who are interested in sci-fi, they kind of looked at that stuff and drew inspiration. Like the stuff we have on Earth, like a lot of this stuff already, it looks extraterrestrial. So, I mean, there must be like signs of life out there and other crazy planets out there that we haven't explored yet. Well, people are definitely starting to dwindle down. It's getting closer to the end of the day. All I have left is, you know, I had the First Peoples exhibit, China, Korea, yeah, and that's pretty much it. But I do need to get out of here at a certain time, so I might have to speedrun these exhibits a little bit, unfortunately. See, I could spend way more time, and that's the thing with museums. You could spend so much more time at museums. Like, just imagine if you, like, I didn't even fully read everything. I didn't stop too much to even read. So just imagine like reading like each exhibit. And no, I kind of feel bad because like these people put thought into like writing a lot of this stuff. So yeah, unfortunately I wasn't able to read it, but I think that's what as I said, I think that's what a museum is for. A museum is for, like, if you actually have like a specific area of study, you come here with like a specific focus. You come in and you kind of just look at that exhibit and read it. Like, let's say you're doing research on ancient Egypt. You go to the Egyptian place, you look at everything, you read everything. But, you know, for the casual, regular person who's just browsing, it's fine to just walk on through. Most people do that. That's what most people do. They just walk on through exhibits. Takes them an hour, 2 hours tops, maybe, and that's pretty much it. So a lot of people, they don't spend much time in the museum, actually. They just kind of go through, say they saw the stuff. That's about it. So it's just up to you what kind of style you have when exploring these exhibits. There's something really fascinating. It's just that I find with the Chinese exhibit here. It's so different from so much of Western art and Western European style that we're so used to. There's so many stories that are just like untold and that, you know, we just don't understand as Westerners, just because it's such a, the East is, it's always been marked as like a faraway exotic land, and because of that, there's like a sort of cut of like stories, but also not, even though like, you know, we're becoming more globalized as a society, there's still sort of that like gap, you know, between Western and Eastern art. Just, but like looking at the paintings and sculptures and everything, you can see just on the expressions, what the people are wearing, how they're posed. There's a whole story behind all that, and the art style in the clouds and the colors that they use. It's just really cool, and you know, I'm glad we get to see that over here. That's another good thing about museums, is you get to see stuff from times that you've never been to and places that you've never been to. Things that you might not experience in a lifetime, you can come to a museum and see it. But also look at it with a critical eye, knowing that what the museum is presenting to you is one side of the story, and there's also the whole other rest of history that the museum isn't presenting, because they can only present so much, right? And yeah, like all this stuff most likely was stolen, and that's just how it is. You know, a lot of the pieces in a museum are stolen by like colonizers as they go over and everything. But I mean, sometimes that's not even the worst thing, because a lot of times, because they're stolen and preserved in the museum, people get to see them. Whereas if they were kept with the actual culture, a lot of this stuff would have been taken out. For example, a lot of this stuff, the Chinese stuff, during the Cultural Revolution, it was sort of encouraged to destroy all the old artifacts and everything. So a lot of that was lost. And if they hadn't been taken over here, a lot of these paintings, wall murals, statues would have all been lost, and that would be such a shame. So there's always two sides of the story, different perspectives. History is really, really interesting. Okay, so ROM is actually closing. It closes at 5:30. I did not know that. I thought they went until 8:30. But I basically spent the whole day here. That's crazy, and the whole day is not enough. 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And basically I was here the whole time. So that just shows like this museum is huge. Like, we're really lucky in Toronto to actually have the Royal Ontario Museum. I went to the museum in Prague and it wasn't as big. I don't know about the one in BC, so I would have to compare that one. But I think what we have in Toronto is enough. It's sufficient. Maybe the only other big ones are probably the one in Britain and the one in New York. Those ones, what is the one in New York? Smithsonian, and I think the British one is Natural History Museum. So those would be worthwhile to check out. They have a lot of stuff, I think. Yeah, I'd actually want to look up, you know, the biggest museums. But ROM is, I would say, it's a world-class museum. You just see, you got pretty much everything, and it's really well set up. I think they're doing a great job over here, and I hope they continue that. I hope they stay open and keep more exhibits open. I hope that next time I come here, we don't have less exhibits, but we'll see. It's just how the economy works, preservation of artifacts and everything. There's a lot that goes into it, but it was a great time at the ROM. Yeah, so the weather actually got really nice out here as I was inside. It was raining a little bit in the morning, but now it's cleared up. It's actually pretty warm, but we're gonna head home now, go to Museum Station, which is the station right next to ROM. So if you're visiting, you go to Museum Station. And it's one of our more unique stations in Toronto. Okay, here we have Museum Station, which is right outside ROM. This is the station you go to when you're visiting ROM. And as you can see, the style of the station is in line with the Royal Ontario Museum, which is really cool. This is the only station in Toronto that is like this.